Okay, okay, Prabhuji, we shall start. Is it you are ready? Prabhuji, you are on mute.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Dandavat Pranam devotees. Welcome to the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very happy to have the association of His Grace Gaurachandra Gopinath Prabhu. He will be speaking Bhagavad Katha from 4th Canto 8, chapter 55 to 58 verses. Yes, Prabhuji, you can start.
Thank you very much. Can I share, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirahe. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam. Bhavatir Shloke Bhakti Bhavasti Naistaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, entitled Dhruva Maharaj leaving home to the forest, and the text number 55 to 58 we'll be covering today. So I will read text number 55, translation purport, then as we progress we can read more slokas. Salilai Suchibir Vanyair Paladibihi Shastankuram Sukas Sarchet Tulasya Priyaya Prabhum. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One should worship the Lord by offering the pure water, pure garland, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of the trees, and if possible, by offering tulsi leaves which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. It is specifically mentioned here that tulsi leaves are very dear to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And devotees should take particular care to have tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. In Western countries, while engaged in propagating in Krishna conscious movement, we were brought great unhappiness because we could not find tulsi leaves. Therefore, we are very much obliged to our disciple Srimati Govinda Dasi because she has taken much care to grow tulsi plants from seeds, and she has been successful by the grace of Krishna. Now, tulsi plants are growing in almost every center of our movement. Tulsi leaves are very important in the method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the word Salalihi means by the water. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj was worshipping on the bank of Yamuna. The Yamuna and the Ganges are scared, secret, and sometimes devotees in India insist that the deity must be worshipped with the water of Ganges or Yamuna. But here we understand Desha, Kala to mean according to time and country. In Western countries, there is no river Yamuna or Ganges. Water from such scared rivers is not available. Does this mean that the archa worship should for that reason be stopped. No, Salilahi refers to any water, whatever is available, but it must be very clear and collected purely. That water can be used. The other paraphernalia, such as flower garlands, fruits, and vegetables, should be collected according to the country and according to their availability. Tulsi leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord. So far as possible, an arrangement should be made for growing Tulsi leaves. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available. Tulsi leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord. So far as possible, arrangement should be made for growing Tulsi leaves. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available in the forest. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna frankly says that he accepts vegetable, fruits, flowers, etc. One should not offer Lord Vasudeva anything other than what is prescribed herein by the great authority Narada Muni. One cannot offer to the deities according to one's whims. Since these fruits and vegetables are available anywhere in the universe, we should observe this small point very attentively. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजादाम् सगन रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगन ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रतायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतिषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Welcome to the Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. I'm really happy to be here with all the devotees today discussing wonderful verse of Dhruva Maharaj pastime. I seek all the Vaishnavas' blessings because whatever I'm going to speak is because your mercy, Vaishnava blesses, then whatever I intend to speak, that will come properly. So I seek all the Vaishnavas' blessing. So before starting this today's verses, just I'd like to give a quick context. Let me know, Prabhu, you're able to see my PPT.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So context so far, we know that Dhruva Maharaj was badly hurt by her stepmother. So this is what is happening is like Dhruva Maharaj was insulted in front of, in the assembly, in front of many servant maids. There are so many ministers, so many people. So most of the time, it is not the physical pain which hurts more. It's more of ego. When our ego hurts, that is very deep. Our physical pain, we don't mind. So to give an example, like, if somebody is there in their own house or probably in the bathroom, they little bit slipped, they got hurt. Somebody is asking from outside, Prabhu, what happened? Are you okay? They said, yeah, yeah, I'm fine. But the same person who is in front of, like, big assembly, there's a big functions going on, let him tripped and he fell down. Then so many devotees that are gathered, hundreds and thousands of devotees gathered. Then they all went and, Prabhu, how are you doing it? So that time, what happens is the hurt both might be same in the place in your own house bathroom and or the open place where there are so many devotees are there. The physical hurt might be the same, it might give the same body pain, but in terms of what is more impacted, if you ask the devotee, you would say, he was more embarrassed in the public when he tripped off, and it hurts more. So similarly, 5 years old Maharaj Dhruva Maharaj here, it was hurt in front of the assembly of so many people. That's hurt more. So many people express their anger differently when they get hurt. So he was hissing like a snake here. So so the takeaway, the life lesson from this incident is that we should use Krishna conscious, try to avoid as much as our ego uh, trimmed or trained our egos. So otherwise, it is hurts. It's going to hurt more when the devotees says small thing, than you would spark, because our ego is like got hurt. Most of the time, it is more of the ego. So if we try to learn how to control this ego, then that would help. The second one is the more pain is the more attachment. If you have more attachment, you will get more pain. So here Dhruva Maharaj, after he was insulted by stepmother, he was looking at his father to get some support. And his father was helpless. He didn't react to anything because he had so much attachment. He had at least said, okay, my father will come for my rescue, or he would talk about at least some good words, or some solace will come. But to the surprise, and his father did not speak anything. He did not. He was helpless to do a talk in front of his wife, and Dhruva Maharaj was really hurt. So what happens is we have more attachment to our family, materials. The more pain it's going to come. So the better option is to try to learn many compromises, because in this material world we never going to get a perfect thing. Nothing is going to happen without hurting. So this, if we reduced our attachment and we compromise it, then we can reduce our pain. Otherwise, the more attachment we're going to have, we're going to get more pain. I know, especially in the Grahastha life, when we get married, the spouse, they sacrifice so much for another person. I'm sure that when you compromise it, it becomes less painful. Otherwise, what happens is there was so much, oh, I've given so much sacrifice for this person. I've committed so much, I've done so much seva, but still, he's not responding the way I wanted it. So there will be a lot of pain influence because we attached or we are very close. The only thing is to get compromised um, like that, so that now we can reduce our pain which is coming up. The third instruction Suniti gives to Dhruva Maharaj is that as soon as he comes back to his mother, and she says, don't take them offenses, because we are supposed to be amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi. He said, you don't expect, why are you expecting respect, amanina, manadena, whereas, but you're supposed to give respect to them. Um, uh, so, so he said, why are you experiencing like this? But most of the time we've seen that it's just normal psychology that anything we do, give a nice decoration of the deities, or we do nice seva, then we would expect a recognition, or somebody gives a wonderful kirtan, sings a wonderful kirtan, or somebody does a beautiful Bhagavatam course, and it is a discourse, And like that, there are many sevas we do, and we try to expect some appreciation. So that's natural. But here, mother is telling, like, if somebody's got hurt, so here she's trying to say that one should not be expecting any respect. Similarly, you give respect to others. And also she explains how if you hurt somebody, then it comes back again. So if you if you do hurt somebody by word or physically, whatever act you do, it comes back later point of time multifold. So if you're trying to get back to them on this whatever they've done, and it's going to come back again to you. So better you don't take it as offense. That she's trying to convince us first step. Second step, she was telling that Tivirena Bhakti Yogena, the suggestion she give, irrespective of any problem, it's a material problem or a spiritual problem, take to Krishna consciousness or surrender to Krishna rather. So she is a perfect woman. She gives a solution. So when we read Bhagavatam, so these are the things which we can apply whenever we have a problem in our life. The first thing is increase our sadhana or dependency on Krishna. But most of the time it will go other way around. Why Krishna has done to me? I've been doing so much seva and services, bhakti, but why this has come to me? So most of the time it reduces our attention to our affection to the Lord. But this Tivirena Bhakti Yogena, even the material problem doesn't matter. Here Dhruva has want a kingdom, that's a material desire, but she says doing Krishna Bhakti is the only option. You should take it seriously. If you step on the toll to Krishna Bhakti, then take birth in my womb, that she told. She said, that's true. You should take the Bhakti yoga process. So you can see here from some examples, like, Bhima wants to kill uh, Duryodhana, or Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted some village or kingdom where he can rule. Everybody approached Krishna. Krishna, please help me. Even though it's kind of at high level looks a materialistic, but ultimately this all will culminate into bhaktis. One must be approaching the lordship for the material benefit, but slowly he will transform. So that's guaranteed. So that's why we, any problem, taking shelter, irrespective of material or spiritual, that is recommended. Then Prabhupada again, in the slokas, the previous slokas, he explains the worship of Devata is condemned because they are a partial solution. They can never give any full solution. It's just like they give some temporary solution where uh, it is like it's just a temporary solution. They don't fix the root cause. But whereas the lordships, they can give a complete solution. Again, it is time bound. Whatever benediction they give, it maybe works for a few years, one lifetime max. But whatever Krishna gives, it is timeless, so you can always get his blessing. Then is always comes with some side effects, whatever devatas wants to give. Then also it's more entangles. This sometimes this devatas, whatever they give, can entangle more. So that way, these are the lessons, few lessons we have seen so far. Coming to the today's verse, I was looking at the sloka. So here Prabhupada emphasizing on this Tulasi worship, maintaining Tulasi. That's a major theme comes out of this purport. And it was very surprised to see Prabhupada mentioning one of his disciple name in the purport, Govinda Dasi. It's such an amazing thing. It reveals two or three points. When Prabhupada went to America, he had 3 Bhagavatam cantos written, translated. Then this we can understand. He's quoting references. One of his disciples' name. She's probably only the person who got the name in the purport of Srila Prabhupada. But that just because Prabhupada was so glorious, he was so attachment having on Tulsi Maharani. Somebody enabled worshipping Tulsi Maharani across the centers. She helped initially to take care of the Tulsi and grow. And Prabhupada was gratitude and immediately wrote it in the purport. The other point which comes out is that Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the purports, we need to study. Of course, translation purport is, translation sloka is there, but Prabhupada purports are like, is ecstasy, is ultimate realizations and the time, place, circumstances, what we need to learn, what is the, we need to understand. Prabhupada time and again, he would write in this. Then I was searching more details about this Mataji because her name is come in the Bhagavatam and trying to hear some nectar of Srila Prabhupada association. So she told one interview, a very wonderful pastime of Srila Prabhupada, why we should read Srimad Bhagavatam, especially his purport. And she used to do very close service to Srila Prabhupada, attending to his, she generally cooks and things like that. And helps Prabhupada. And one day she got up early and she was listening to Prabhupada translating, and they would, most of the time Prabhupada wouldn't have any private quarters. Probably they'll separate it by a screen or a window will be there like that. Then when we look, many people, many a times devotees have shared this as well. So many a time they would look at what Prabhupada is trying to do, how he is translating. And Prabhupada will be in that completely different world. He'll be in different dimension. Prabhupada not physically will be there. In sense, he would glorify Srimad Bhagavatam because Prabhupada that time got a dictaphone. As soon as he went to US, his typewriter was not there. Then they've given him dictaphone. So Prabhupada started using dictaphone. Most of these purports Bhagavatam Prabhupada spoke and it was translated later. So he would be holding his dictaphone and happily he would be singing the slokas. He would be presenting the the purports and things like that. So this is something closer to Prabhupada. So the more we read his purport, a lot of information, a lot of things which can apply into our life. So coming to the another pastime of Srila Prabhupada instruction on, so I'll be talking few practical instruction what Prabhupada gave, how to take care of one tulasi, either in the temple or in the house. So as a takeaway from this sloka, one pastime happened is that one thing which Mataji also shared is that so one time in the temple, Tulsi Maharani was growing very, very, very big. And it's growing so much big that the people started walking, she was being bruised by many walkers. And said, then they went to the devotees went to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, can we trim that branch? Kind of Tulsi Maharani, then people are passing by. Prabhupada said, no, how can you think of even cutting a Tulsi Maharani? It's very offensive to cut her. So you can tie a thread rope around so that it will not disturb others. And so then it was going on. Then it is, she is further growing so much that, it becomes like, uh, obstruction and, everybody is like, not able to pass through and things like that. Then again, Prabhupada said, no, you can't cut her. So probably make an arch or something like that so that people can bend and go. So like that, see, they made arrangements. So Prabhupada was so caring and instructing them how to take care of Tulsi. You can see in the picture, left-hand side, this is in the Western world. They take care of so much because there is no sunlight. You need to have a lot of equipments like the lights, which gives a particular temperature, and there should not be too much water. Not too much less water as well, so that she dry up. She should have a perfect weather condition so that she can grow. When I initially went to UK, I thought, okay, she will grow. Then I grown many parts, but after realized that winter she did not survive because I did not had this kind of a facility. So it's very important the temples, at least in ISKCON, wherever the whole countries, they would have this kind of a glass house so that she grows very nicely. So in our house also in India, we take for granted, but we should almost take care of Tulsi Maharani in the house. We should never let her dry and take care of her properly and do this seva. So there are few practical tips which you are all aware, but I just try to repeat. So when we try to plug the tulasi, there are two slokas I have given here in the slide. Tulasi Amrita Janmasi Sadatvam Keshava Priya Keshavartam Chinnomitvam Varada Bhava Sobane. Means when before plucking the leaves of the tulasi, we hold it in the two hands. With right hand we pluck and left hand hold her branch not to hurt her, and carefully reciting these prayers, humbly we pluck the tulasis. And also we would ask for forgiveness in the below sloka, which I mentioned, after plucking the tulasis. So sometimes we don't need to disturb her in Ekadesi, Dwadasi day. Purnima, Amasya, Shankranti, or Sundays like this. There are special days we don't disturb her. The reason because she also fasts on Ekadasi and Dwadasi, especially all the acharyas especially highlight on one day we don't pluck her tulasi is on the Dwadasi, because she will be very tired and she'll be fasting for the day like the previous day. So that's why it will be disturbing her, and plucking early morning unclean way, or when you are not unclean and trying to do that, these all offenses. Even if you are stepping around on the shadow of tulasi, it is an offense. So we should be very, very careful in terms of taking care of the tulasi. Try as much as possible protecting her, watering plants and watering her, and circumambulating. So there are Prabhupada here in the purport again talks about Desha Kala Patra, where the water is not available. How do I do? So Prabhupada has customized in ISKCON many things. It may be in the Gaudiya Parampara, I mean, in the Bhakti Siddhanta that talk introduced, but he would have customized it. For example, Govinda Madhipurusham song, which is very specific to ISKCON, not other places it is done, because he sees the effort of his devotees, he writes in the purport, or he sees something nice, then he adapts it in ISKCON to do it in Mangalarti. So he introduced Tulsi Arti both in the morning and evening. That is a very, very important aspect, because through Tulsi we achieve Krishna's Seva. See, always we take shelter of Tulsi Maharani. So Prabhupada emphasized Tulsi Arti and something like Nashinga Arti. This is something to protect the devotees. Prabhupada again introduced. So he customized a few things for us. So we need to simply stick to whatever standards Prabhupada set in the temple, the programs. That will really help us, because Prabhupada knew what works for us. So these are the few things I thought I would share on Tulsi Maharani. So let me go to the next sloka. And be quick, 740. Okay. So I will read the next slokas. Then we would read purport. Then we can discuss. Abdiva Dravamaya Archam Isti Ambau Adishu Varchayet Abhatratma Muniyo Shanto Yatavan Mitavanyabhak. Translation: It is possible to worship a form of the Lord made of physical elements such as earth, water, pulp, wood, and metal. In the forest, one can make a form with no more than earth and water and worship him according to the above principles. A devotee who has full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful and must be satisfied simply with the eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forest. It is essential for a devotee to worship the form of the Lord and not only meditate upon form of the Lord within his mind with the chanting of mantra given by the spiritual master. The worship of the form must be present. The impersonalist takes unnecessary trouble to meditate upon or worship something impersonal, and the path is very precarious. We are not advised to follow the impersonalist way on meditating on or worshipping the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship a form made of earth and water, because in a jungle, if it is not possible to have a form made of metal, wood, or a stone, the best process is to take earth mixed with the water and make a form of the Lord and worship him. The devotee should not be anxious about cooking food. Whatever available in the forest or in the city among the fruit and vegetable groups should be offered to the deities. And the devotee should be satisfied eating that. He should not be anxious to have very palatable dishes. Of course, wherever it is possible, one should offer the deities the best foodstuff prepared within the category of fruits and vegetables, cooked or uncooked. The important factor is that devotees should be regulated. That is one of the good qualification of a devotee. He should not hanker to satisfy the tongue with a particular kind of foodstuff. He should be satisfied to eat whatever prasada is available by the grace of the Lord. So, in this sloka, Prabhupada brings up two important things. So this was also our discussion last time when our devotee care was happening. One of the point came, what are the 8 items in which the Lord is made, the deity's form is made. So there is a reference in chapter Canto 11, 27 and 12. I'm not going in detail, but this I was reading it yesterday. There's a wonderful deity, how to worship the deities. If you can read at least 5 slokas from 12 to 17, there's a lot of information Prabhupada has given, various Archa how do they worship, what kind of things needs to be done. So it's wonderfully explained. So you can see that the Lord can be made of 8 materials. One is the stone. We all know that in South India, there are a lot of deities made of stone and they worship, like our Balaji and other deities. Wood, we all know that our Jagannath is Daru Brahma, is made of the wood, is example. Metals, of course, we have a lot of metal deities, Gauranitai, Laddu Gopal, and many other Radha Krishna deities are made of metal. Earth, I can remember one instance where the earth is used, not earth, probably it's a sand. Lord Ramachandra, when he was in Rameshwaram, he, after I think the battle, he was trying to worship Shiva to show a certain example because the devotees are greater than the Lord. So he want to prove, and Prabhupada again, here talks about the Mayavadis. So they want to come equal with the Lord, but the devotees are greater than the Lord. So the Lord want to show, give a great place for Lord Shiva. So when he was worshipping, like, he didn't have much anything. So he took the sand and water and he made a linga. That's still being worshipped in the Rameshwaram. And paint, we can paint a lot of things. And of course, sand we talked about. And here Prabhupada also says that some people can worship in the mind. This we will just quickly see in the sloka and the sloka number 58. And also deities can be made of jewels, like, there are a lot of valuable gems. So then now people sell them made of ruby and whatever important gems it's made of. The other important aspect which I like to highlight is that in the translation, Prabhupada says one should be satisfied simply with the eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forest. So the only time I eat fruit and vegetable is during our Bhishma Panchaga, fruit and roots. That's the only day I can remember. But it's for my purification. I'm telling this, but is something which following this simple food is difficult for me, because when Bhishma Panchaga started, it's almost one day we were discussing how this avishya, what is avishya, this atapa rice, what is atapa rice. So much research was going on. How do we follow this? And the time, most of the time went on in researching this, what is avishya, instead of keeping simple life, is that eat and fruits and spend more time. The other thing where it is we spend a lot of time is on the Ekadasi day. I never feel like I'm doing Ekadasi because there are so much items prepared on that day. One day before we'll say, oh, it's Ekadasi, I have to eat a lot. So we stuff a lot of stuff on the one day before. On Ekadasi day, 3-4 core meals happens. Idlis, you have samasas, chapatis. You'll never feel like it is Ekadasi. So like that. So the point is that Prabhupada here trying to say, it's not that you should not offer whatever palatable dishes are there. You can offer to him, but these times and all, like Ekadasi and special days, you can have simple fruits and roots and try to increase our sadhana or bhakti and in terms of spending or doing a lot of seva like that. So that's one lesson learned for me in this sloka. So I'll move on quickly to the next sloka as we are 7:48. Okay. So here slowly Dhruva Maharaj was given a mantra. Then now he is given a deity worship and he's already staying in Maduravasa. So we would see what kind of instruction there is giving, what are the other instruction is giving to Narada Rishi is giving to Dhruva. स्वैच्छवतार चरितेर अचिंतय निजमायया करिष्याति उत्तम श्लोकास तत् Dayat, Dayat, Hridayam Gamam. My dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnation as exhibited by his supreme will and personal potencies. Devotional services comprises 9 prescribed practices: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving, and offering everything to the deity. Here, Dhruva Maharaj is advised not only to meditate on the form of the Lord, but to think of his transcendental pastimes in his different incarnations. Mayavadi philosopher take the incarnation of the Lord to be same category as ordinary living entity. This is a great mistake. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not forced to act by the material laws of nature. The word sva icha or svecha is used to here to indicate that he appears out of his supreme will. The conditioned soul is forced to accept a particular type of a body according to his karma given by the laws of material nature and the direction of Supreme Lord. But when the Lord appears, he is not forced by the dictation of material nature. He appears as he likes by his own internal potency. That is the difference. The conditioned soul accepts particular type of body, such a body of hog by his work and by the superior authority of material nature. But when Lord Krishna appears in the incarnation of a boar, he is not the same kind of hog as ordinary animal. Krishna appears as Varaha Avatara in an expansive feature which cannot be compared to an ordinary hog's. His appearance and disappearance are inconceivable to us. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that he appears by own internal potency for the protection of the devotees and annihilation of non-devotees. A devotee should always consider that Krishna does not appear as an ordinary human being or ordinary beast. His appearance as Varaha Murti or a horse or a tortoise is an exhibition of his internal potency. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibha Vitapi. One should not mistake the appearance of the Lord as a human being or a beast to the same as the birth of an ordinary conditioned soul, who is forced to appear by the laws of nature, whether as an animal, as a human being, or as a demigod. This kind of thinking is offensive. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has condemned the Mayavadis as offensive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of their thinking that the Lord and the conditioned living entities are one and the same. Narada advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastime of the Lord, which is a good as the meditation concentrating one's mind on the form of the Lord. As meditation on any form of the Lord is valuable, so is chanting of different names of the Lord, such as Hari, Govinda, and Narayana. But this sage, we are especially advised to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra as initiated in the Shastra: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the purport. Prabhupada is finally, is giving his conclusions. Of course, there are very many names, but in this Kali Yuga, we should stick to Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So the takeaway from this sloka, which I can see, is that there are various incarnation Lord takes. So one thing is that he's been advised, he's been given Om Namo Bhagavate mantra. He's already asked him to go to the holy place to do the practical devotional worship. Then he's given Archa Vigna. He says, at least take a mud. There's a water. It's easily available everywhere. You can make a small deity. So Narada is instructing him, make a deity and do a deity worship. And then the other one is that he's telling, Sadhu Sangha and Bhagavatam. So he talks about here meditation. So he's telling at least you go and read the various pastimes. The Lord creates a lot of incarnation. Krishna comes. There is one verse which in this first canto, I liked it very much, is that Lord manifests as many as incarnation as there are species of life. Innumerable incarnation Krishna takes, and every species of life he goes and takes avatar. This is such amazing purport translation. Namely, the aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beast, and the men, the demigod, etc., just for the maintenance of the faithful and annihilation of the unfaithful. So this is a wonderful purport. I was meditating how Krishna is ready to take every species of life so that he want to deliver all of them. It could be the demigods like, Vamana avatar he took, Trivikrama Vamana avatar, the deities as a son. He's there as a demigod, helped the demigods. Beast was taken lion avatar. the birds, Hamsavatar, reptiles, tortoise, Adisesha, like that. Aquatis, you're taken as a Matsya. So you can see that various species of life, Aigriva, there are a lot of species of life Lord takes just only for us to take back home Godhead. So Krishna is so merciful. So that's one point comes out of this. And also he, for remembrance, here Narada Shika gave this, asked him to remember this wonderful pastime, which are described in our Bhagavatam, various incarnation details. So for us also, it's everyday hearing and remembering the Lordship. It is recommended from this sloka. So the last sloka, I'll just conclude it reading the Bhagavatam. परिचार्य भागवतो यवात्य पूर्वसेवितः ता मंत्र हृदयेनैव प्रियन् प्रियञ्जयन् मूर्तये. One should follow the footsteps of previous devotees regarding how to worship the Supreme Lord with the prescribed paraphernalia. Or one should offer worship within the heart by reciting the mantra to the personality of Godhead, who is non-different from mantra. It is recommended herein that even one cannot arrange to worship the form of the Lord with the recommended paraphernalia. One can simply think about the form of the Lord and mentally offer everything recommended in the Shastras, including flowers, chandana, pal, conch shell, umbrella, fan, and chamara. One can meditate upon the offering and chant the 12-syllable mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Since the mantra and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are non-different, one can worship the form of the Lord with the mantra in the absence of physical paraphernalia. The story of Brahmana who has worshipped the Lord within his mind, as related in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu or Nectar of Devotion, should be consulted in this connection. If paraphernalia is not present physically, one can think of the items and offer them to the deities by chanting mantra. Such are liberal and potent facilities in the process of devotional service. So in the last one, we all know the story of a Brahmana. So Prabhupada here talking about, uh, um, so here you can also worship mentally. He's given an example of a Brahmana. If you don't have items, you can also offer this mentally, and how he was got hurt his finger when he was trying to check his sweet rice was hot enough. Then his finger got burnt, and then he goes to Vaikuntha. So a Brahmana can mentally also meditate. But one thing we should learn, there are a few takeaways from this sloka is that other places also Prabhupada says that probably I just like to read that. It's very wonderful instruction from Prabhupada. And in terms of, there are a lot of devotees wants to have deities there at home. So there are deities at the temple. What is the priority should be given? And this mental worship, especially worshipping mentally, how should be done? So this is for the advanced devotees. It is not recommended for the devotees who are in the neophyte stage. Prabhupada also says that it is not, it is for the another places where the conversation Prabhupada says that this worship is done for the elevated souls, like Bhishma, sorry, not Bhishma, Bhima. You see, he's also kind of sometimes falls under this category. What he would do is, one time I went to this Divya Desham, I was traveling around Kerala. The Senganachari, there are 5 Pandavas, they constructed 5 temples. And I saw for the Bhima temple, there was a big pond. There are a lot of lotus flowers. I've been told there, the Pujari was telling how Bhima is to, he would see any beautiful things, he would offer mentally immediately. He sees the flower, then he just pluck like this and throw. And he would offer it to the lordships. Like that, his form of worshipping is completely different. But other people, they go and take the flowers, physically offer it to the Lord. So we should not imitate those, these Brahmana and Bhima and all. They're exalted Vaishnavas. Our thing is that Prabhupada recommends to have a deities and worship. It definitely helps us as a Panchanga. It definitely helps. But there's Prabhupada also giving a very beautiful instruction in this purport and other places. The main aim is that we should be able to preach and practice our devotional service. If there is a constraint, then you have simply a Gauranitai Panchatattva picture and have simple standard of worship as a photo, then start doing a lot of preaching. What happens is, there is a balance you should do, whether one should have a personal deity Of course, it helps a lot of devotion, but if at the same time you have opportunity to serve in the temple, the preference should be given to the temple. When you get the deities, the standard needs to be followed. A lot of time needs to be spent. Uh, then you also need to engage in your personal sadhana as well as preaching, a lot of sevas in the temple. So you need to see balance. If there is no temple, you are far away, then yes, you should have more elaborated deities and things like that. But if there are temple and opportunities available, then one should take advantage of that. That's instruction Prabhupada is trying to give here. It's not that one should not have, but when you have the deities, one should take care of them nicely, and you should make arrangements for all these worships neatly done. So based on the time, place, circumstances where we are, the preference should be given first to the temple deities who are the expansion in our houses. So it doesn't matter what kind of deities we have, they have all same potencies. If you use a photo or a painting, sometimes you would have t-shirts or something written Hare Krishna. That also should be taken care, or pictures of the Lordship. Sometimes the kids would play on the mud or on the floor with the t-shirt wearing it. So it has the same equal potency in one sense. In sense, the Lordships, it doesn't matter is in the name form, whatever form it is in the painted in the t-shirt, or is in the photo form, or is in the Vigraha form, or in the marble deities you have. So everything is now kind of is represent that. So whatever anything related to his picture, everything we should take it seriously. And wherever there is an advantage to take care in the temple, then one should give a first priority to the temple. Then take care of the deities like that. So I would stop here because of the time. So any comments or questions, reflections, corrections?
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you very much for the detailed explanation on the theme around deity worship and worshipping the Lord. One thing that I could definitely take away is, as it is said, the devotional service of the Lord is uninterrupted, apratihata. We can see how Prabhupada is mentioning the deity worship can be done with consideration of time, place, and circumstances, and with the simplest of the things. Thank you for the detailed explanation on the Tulsi Maharani and also on the deity worship. Devotees can unmute themselves to share any reflections or any questions they have to Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Mataji.
Prabhu, today's is very, little bit I understood. On Sunday's class, last part I didn't get, Prabhu. I asked about Swatavara, but that there were a lot of disturbance and that one thing, can you tell, Prabhu?
Yeah, so I was mentioning that so you should have a person who's senior who can impart this knowledge, or where you can have this communication or interaction. Just hearing is up to one level, Sadhu Sangha level. You have similar topics, you're Snigdha, you have affectionate with the devotees, but we also have Sadhu Sangha. The third part, we do it. But after that, we go one more step. After hearing this Bhagavatam, what is in it for me? How do I apply? What are the things which I'm not able to practice? You can go and discuss personally with some senior Vaishnava whom you should have that kind of association. There are various levels of association, various types of association, I would rather say. Sometimes we just come to the temple, we just say Hare Krishna, hear Bhagavatam and go. But you want to progress quickly. I was mentioning this means you should have another person like Maitreya and Vittura. They were doing such a close discussion. He's asking more question, and Maitreya, being a senior, is trying to impart all this knowledge. So whenever we have a problem, then we should approach our mentor or devotee care. You should open up. You should establish a relation, or you should have in your life somebody who can look up to you and you can get motivated by seeing them, taking their association, going in depth into the topic and contemplating on what our Bhagavatam says. Then how you practically apply? Because unless you go to the hospital and take a pill or medicine or injection, you will not get a cure. So this person can give you what prescribe the proper tablets or the medicines to be taken care. So that's what I was telling, that we should go furthermore and discuss whenever you see him or call him in a day or next day. I was reading this, Prabhu, can you please explain more? How do I practically implement it? Like that, those conversations keep on happening. Then you start remembering this. What are we here? Then you start discussing, contemplating. That's required because you need another person to do that.
That's true. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna. Anything related to today's topic?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you were talking about Tulsi and worshipping Tulsi. And when we offer prasadam, we have to put Tulsi and then offer. But supposing we do not have Tulsi stock. So I have heard that you can dry Tulsi leaves and make it powder and keep, or you can put the leaves in water and offer that water to the whatever bhoga we prepare. Is that true, Prabhu? Or we have to offer only the leaves?
No. See, I don't know who told you about making powder and all. So unless she becomes dry and she's breaking, that's okay. But we don't need to forcefully make a powder or something. Yes, there are various options available. In case of fresh tulsi leaves are not available, there are two more options are available. Either you can have dry leaves tulsi stored. Sometime when I travel abroad, I don't know when I will get tulsi Maharani. I have a dry one. So obviously she would break, but whatever is that I would offer and take. The second option is I take tulsi twig, which is dried up. So what I'll do is I can touch and wash it and keep it. Then I can reuse it again if there is no tulsi available. I use the tulsi stick to offer and wash it and keep it again. So I would reuse. There is generally we don't reuse whatever offered to the Lord, flower or something like that. This is exceptional scenario where you don't have any other option. Then I use the dried twig, small one I always carry. Then I do that, or dry leaves tulsi till I have stock. I will use that. That's okay.
And another one, Prabhu, can we offer tulsi leaves become yellow? No.
Yeah,
if it is
offer.
a old one, it becomes yellow. Can we offer that yellow color leaf also? Or
In
only
fact,
green we'll have to offer?
No, it is in fact, it doesn't matter the details, it doesn't matter. Tulsi needs to be there in any form. In fact, the tulsi leaves fall is around worn. It is very auspicious actually. You can collect that and clean it and you can use it. Because we are not disturbing her unnecessarily. She is a person. So when we, it's very difficult when she comes in the form of plant, having that relationship with her, because we treat like any other plant. We just go unplug and do. But we should give a proper respect to her because she will be always meditating, we'll be disturbing her. If there are leaves falling off, which are almost okay, light yellow kind, you can definitely use it because we're not disturbing her. We need some tulsi, we can collect it and clean it and use it. That would be better. If required, then go and disturb her. Of course, when she will not, if you just don't leave it her, because this manjari you see in the photo, that needs to be plucked so that she grows healthy, as a bush. If we just leave it like that, then she just grows straight, and after that, she's not able to maintain. So there are a lot of instruction available, material available, how to grow tulsi itself as a separate subject matter, when to pluck, how many. She would grow 3 leaves. After that, you remove that manjari, then she grows in the side, and how do you take care of it? All those things are there. No issues with using the whatever.
This powder form thing, somebody came from abroad and they told me that you take a lot of tulsi, put it, dry it, and then make it powder, and then you can sprinkle it on the bhoga we offer. That's why I asked you, Prabhu, because...
See, sometimes we put it in the milk, boiled milk already we would have offered with tulsi. Then it becomes cold, we'll try to reheat it. We should careful about reheating tulsi. We should remove her first, the leaves, then it. It's not that we forcefully, try to make a powder or using for medicines and things like that. That is definitely a wrong attitude. But if she breaks, that's okay. We don't need to worry about it. But we don't need to go on. I don't know. I have not heard out from others. You need to make a powder. I
also don't know.
Small pieces, then you can use it. Sprinkle a few of them. But you don't need to forcefully make that, because she's like, even after plugging in the offered in the milk or other places or washing the utensils, sometimes we would have taken prasadam and we are washing it. Sometimes she'll stuck to the vessel and we would the bin in the wash basin. So one should be very careful, remove that, or there'll be some, a spoiled one. So we just leave it like Tulsi Maharani like that after offering it. So one should be very careful to remove all of them and keep it, honor her first. So all those stuff we need to take care of, little bit details.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah.
These tulati sticks and the twigs, we take it to Prabhu. Can we break that and offer it to the Lord? Twigs can be broken. Can we break that twigs and offer?
No, we have the manjari, right? We have the manjari. You can pluck manjari and leaves. Why you want to pluck the twig?
In case we don't have and we go out of station and we carry the sticks, those sticks we can small twigs also we can make it into small pieces and offer, or we have to have a long stick and then only that.
No. When you say offer, means offer to what? To the Lord.
Not offer, Prabhu. We have to just for Naivedyam when you are giving to
Naivedyam, you can have small one. No, it will not take this much, right? So when you take manjari also, that stem you can write and keep it like that. As much as possible, we don't try to cut big branches or hurt her, because she is a person. She is personified, bhakti personified. Through her only we can get into the Golaka Vrindavan. So she is a person. We try to. That's why we this 2 mantras is very important. And we also read this, the bottom one, especially we're asking Shamaiva Jagan Mata. We say, please forgive me. I'm using it for Krishna Seva, Keshava Seva. I need to do that, then it's okay. But as much as possible, we should not try to disturb her.
When the whole plant dries up and it doesn't grow anymore, how should we treat that plant, Prabhu?
See, ideally, we should not allow her to dry. So there should be a lot of care should be taken care. So if it is too much of water, there is too much sunlight, that especially in India can cause her to dry. So you should have appropriate water moisture and appropriate place. It should not be too shady, dark, or too sunlight. She should have a moderate. So you need to have a place, then let it be. So you can put some net and things like that to take care of her. Keep it in a place where she can grow. We try to protect her as much as possible. And in case she dries up by mistake or whatever reason, then immediately you should not leave it for a long time. Replace it with a new plant. Then this whatever dried up tulsi plants, you should not just dispose like any other plant. You should leave it in the river or under the ground. You have to bury, or you can use it for the yajna where they would use tulsi as an offering, ahudi. Then you can use her like that. You should be very careful with just disposing that dried tulsi stem as well. Just not like another plant you can just throw.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Mata.
Prabhuji, actually my question is, Prabhuji, when we offer, like if we put 5 to 6 bowls, do we have to put one tulsi leaf in each bowl, or one is enough for the entire plate? Because so many leaves are going only for the offering, Prabhuji.
You should be see other way around. Everything should be abundant for Krishna. If you're giving more tulsi, Krishna will be more happy to take prasadam, right? We are thinking it's wasting.
Okay,
we have abundance of tulsi. Why you are worried about it? So one thing. Second thing is each preparation should have at least one tulsi. Okay. So if the 5 bowls has different preparation, it must be one for each preparation ideally. In case there is a shortage, you are in abroad, there is scarcity, then the time, place, circumstances is different. But if you're in India, you can never give any excuses for Tulsi Maharani. She grows abundantly, is available here. The more we offer, Krishna is more pleased with Tulsi Maharani.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
The standard is one preparation per one Tulsi leaf.
Hare Prabhu, after Hare Krishna, we offer the Tulsi leaf in each preparation. That Tulsi leaf, should we have to take, we have to take it, or we can take it out and we can take the prasadam? How do we do about it, Prabhu?
We generally go and mix it with the main preparation, and who it's a serving, they will use it. But what I'm telling is, in that method, what is the disadvantage is that sometimes you have excess prasadam, you would store it in the fridge. Next time you want to heat it, the Tulsi Maharani may be there inside, then you must be heating her. That can be avoided. Or you can take it out, offer it, you can put it in the plate, then you can honor it. That's okay. Or when you wash it unknowingly, you might wash it off or in the wash basin. So you can mix it with the main bowl. As long as you're going to empty it, it's just perfect for the family and you will anyway empty it, then you can mix it and take it. But if you cook too much, you're not sure, then please take it out and honor it immediately.
Okay. Thank you.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavats. Thank you for the wonderful class. I just want to share that after many years of this offering and all that, I learned a lesson that after offering, we take the tulsi so that we can serve devotees. Otherwise, when it gets mixed up with the prasadam, then sometimes it may be thrown out, or like curry leaves, it might burn. The heat, it may be burnt. So I've started taking care that after offering, take the tulsi and then serve, separately. So not.
That's the best approach. Otherwise, as I mentioned, reheat, or you might wash it off, which we don't know. Or some people might think that as something leaf and they remove it. Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, sometimes many people, they consider tulsi as a medicinal plant, and then they use for like making kada or putting it in tea. So how can we explain them?
You should be also sometimes careful. So when I go to this paste, especially, these soaps and medicines what we use, sometimes you can see they put tulsi. Don't buy it. Should be very careful. Even buying those unknowingly, you may not know, but they would have added the tulsi as well. Apply in our body, because this kantimala, what are we wearing is, again, I forgot about this. Kantimala is another topic. Whom to wear, who has to wear, and how many rounds, and we'll not get into that. It's already time. But what I'm telling is definitely no to any medicinal purpose. When you have Charnamrit, what are you taking? That's sufficient. But this commercializing Tulsi Maharani for this medicine is complete no. It is an offense. And also sometimes we need to see if explicitly the written Tulsi or Neem, so Neem is okay. But if it's mixed with Tulsi or something like that, some advertisement comes, please stop using those products. It's offense to her.
Prabhuji, one last question in the chat window. If you can take that, we'll conclude from Sankarshan Priya Prabhu in the chat window.
I'm trying to.
Can we buy Tulsi leaf garlands from shops?
Can we
buy Tulsi leaves garland from shops?
Of course. You can buy. What is there? What is, I don't know if there's any specific reason you are asking in the mind, or.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Actually, we have to follow so many rules for even plucking the tulasi from the plant. But if you are buying from the shop, we do not know how it is, what is the standard maintained by them. So that's what I was asking, Prabhuji.
No, you can offer the tulasi. So you see the other way around. If you go to the Shiva Vaishnava temple, there are so many tulasi leaves are brought. So many vendors are selling. The person who planted tulasi leaf, the person who is brought it to the place, a person who is stitched or together garland, a person who is offering that, everybody will get the benefit, right? So it's Krishna is Priya. I know they may not follow that standard, but this is still auspicious. Krishna likes tulasi, more preparations, and very closer to Tulsi Maharani. So when we go to such places, it's okay to buy it from the shop and offer it to the lordships. So that's fine. But when we grow as a devotee, we should take care of them. Our houses, whatever it is, this standard I was talking about in our house, what are we are maintaining it. But you see from other perspective, there's so many people get benefited. Tulsi Maharani will purify so many persons in the chain, right from the plowing to transport. Everybody who is doing that, they'll get their share of helping. Finally, Tulsi is mainly used for lordships worshipping, so everyone will get benefit. So that's okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Mataji.
Actually, I'm not worthy of speaking in this group, but actually, I wanted to share one point which I came to know from one of my seniors, and I've been following while honoring the tulsi leaf. Eat it, after offering it on the prasadam, on the bhoga. When we are putting it in our mouth, it is said that we should chew it so finely, we should grind it so finely in our mouth that only juice remains from that leaf, so that even we are not directly swallowing the leaf, and so that it is not dishonored if it is going out of our body as a waste. So it should be totally absorbed in the blood. That is why we should chew it totally, as much finer we can chew in the mouth. So
My understanding is different, Mataji, on this.
okay.
We should not be doing that. I tell you, when Tulsi Maran you can honor, you can't swallow completely, that's fine. You can bite it into 3 or 4 pieces and eat it or drink it. You don't need to chew it to the juice. The reason because any water goes into your stomach, the system will take care of it, of digesting it. And especially Tulsi Maharani is never the problem for any of the devotees to digest. Don't worry about it. Even you eat stone, it will come out, or it will, the harder things our system can digest. One thing is that we are conscious of not, as we are taking as a prasad, when we are honoring her, even in our mouth. So we are just thinking, oh, you are offered to Krishna, so please purify me. In that sense, we are taking it. In that sense, we should not be grinding too much into juicy or things. That's something which I don't know. I'm not able to perceive that. So generally, I've heard from senior Vaishnavas that you can break into 2-3 pieces. Solve it better, but doing the other way around is not recommended as far as my knowledge goes. Well, these are the details, but the main point come over is how we should respect Tulsi. How do we establish the relation? How we trying to maintain her? How we trying to come to the standard when Tulsi Maharani is there in the neck? We avoid when we try to follow all the 4 regulative principles, and Yama would not come near to us. She would give the bhakti. So there are other benefits like that's what we are focusing more. There will be, of course, some details like this. But as much as possible, you treat her a person, then you will know when you're trying to chew what would happen. So that way we are so indebted to her. So that's something I hear differently from other Vaishnavas. You can cross-check with other seniors.
Okay, Prabhuji, because I have been following this from many years, and while eating it, actually the consciousness is there that we are eating the tulsi leaf only, or we are honoring her. But just the consciousness was also there in my mind that, okay, I have to totally absorb it in myself. That is why while chewing also, that was the consciousness. But if it is the other way around, yes, maybe I can stop following that. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you can check with them, but I never heard this from others. But as far as my knowledge goes, I understand.
Okay, Prabhuji, quick time check. I think we should conclude the class here. Thank you very much for this detailed understanding of the Tulsi worship and the deity worship. We'll conclude with Vaishnava prayers.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की शील प्रभुपाद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंद।
Thank you very much, Prabhu.